All righty, welcome into the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave, cavetalkradio.com and the Cave Talk Radio app. It's great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo with you, and we're here till 5 o'clock. We open today with our opening rant, which is to do with the NFL. Isaiah Rodgers, among others, is expected to receive a season-long suspension this week for violating the NFL's policy on gambling, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter earlier today. Rodgers is the subject of a league investigation into possible violations of the league's gambling policy, including possible bets placed on Colts games. That's the kicker. Rodgers acknowledged the situation on social media earlier this month, saying he takes full responsibility for his actions. The NFL said last week that it planned to reinforce its gambling policy to players. All rookies will now be required to attend mandatory education sessions, and a group of league officials is making in-person visits to team facilities to emphasize and clarify what activities are prohibited amid rapid proliferation of sports gambling. The 6 key rules of the gambling policy that are going to be emphasized are as follows. And this is, I think, the crux of the matter. Don't bet on the NFL. Yep. Don't gamble at your team facility while traveling for a road game or staying at a team hotel. Don't have someone bet for you. Don't share team inside information. That's Bill Belichick would agree with that one. Don't enter a sports book during the NFL playing season. That's reasonable. And don't play daily fantasy football. Look, I don't think any of these rules are surprising to me, nor do I think any of this is in any way unreasonable. The one that I think is a little bit more, I guess, vague in its direct application is the second one, with the where like the physical location of where you're betting from. But the rest of these, I'm all for. And I don't think the fact that gambling is a huge part of the league's revenue, or the fact that that's a huge part of how all sports and especially football is consumed, I don't think it has anything to do with what conduct can and can't be expected of players. I don't think one has anything to do with the other. I think ultimately the idea that you should just, if you're an NFL player, you should not bet on NFL games, I think is pretty common sense. I don't think the proliferation of DraftKings and FanDuel and all the other sports books changes that in any way. I think these are rules that are really not probably any different than the ones Pete Rozelle likely laid out in the wake of the Hornung and Karras situation from 60 years ago. I don't think this has changed much. It's probably very similar. The only thing that's different this time around
how it's consumed
is how it's consumed. And also that Hornung and Karras did not have the luxury of being told up front that you'll be able to come back. They were giving an indefinite suspension. That's been the long time standard, and it turned into a 1-year suspension. This time, they're at least giving these guys, if that report's accurate, we'll find out soon. I have no reason to think it won't be. Schefter is usually pretty accurate with this type of stuff. They're getting the benefit of being told it's a 1-year suspension, then you're back. That's a quite a upgrade on anxiety levels versus, so we don't know. It's indefinite. That had to be rough to deal with. Look, you have to do this. Any league has to do something like this, right? Because ultimately you can't risk players being able to bet on games that they have a degree of influence in. And that includes other games that maybe they're not playing in, but their friends are playing, and hence rule, whatever it was, 3, someone betting for you. Because, if I'm buddies, let's say I'm Isaiah Rodgers and I'm friends with, I don't know, let's say I'm friends with Deebo Samuel of the 49ers. And then I send a friend to bet on the Niners game, and, Deebo funded the X amount of the money. And now, all of a sudden it's basically the same thing as if Isaiah Rodgers bet on the Colts to lose, for example. It's the same jeopardized integrity. Now it's just diffused by one person removed. So I don't have any problem with any of these rules, and I think the NFL is not just within its right, but it's within logical obligation to come down on things like this, like a ton of bricks. You have to.
I agree. I agree. It had to be done.
What choice do you have? You have to do that.
You don't have any. There are so many ways, especially now. I mean, unlike the Horning and Karras days, it wasn't easy to make a bet.
Right.
It's the easiest thing in the world now to make a bet.
It's very true.
But the NFL does get a significant amount of money from DraftKings and FanDuel and all the other ones.
Which of course they do, but of course that also means
That doesn't mean the players have a right to use it.
right. And it does mean indirectly that if the league realizes those revenues, the players, by virtue of the revenue share outlined in the CBA, are indirectly realizing that revenue too.
Right.
Their percentage of it, that is. And yeah, and this doesn't say that I can't bet on basketball or baseball or hockey or horse racing or anything else. This is just your own sport. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Oh, it's not.
It's just your own sport. You know, if you're like Aaron Rodgers is a known basketball fan. He's a part owner in the Bucks. If he was to bet on Buck games, who cares? Doesn't matter. He's allowed to do that, right? And if anything, if he has a friend who's going to try to throw the game, I mean, you're always going to run into that, but you police those things on a case by case basis. But these rules to me are sensible. They're common sense. And to be honest, they're probably not new. I mean, they might be presented as new in the case of this story, but they're really not new. I'm sure they're not much different than what they dealt with 50, 60 years ago. The only difference, like you said, Rich, is the ease of access. So it's harder to police, which I think makes punishment even more important, because when you do catch a case, because it is so much harder to police now, I think it's even more important to be severe in punishment, because the deterrence of that severity is really your best and only weapon to try to limit this in the future, because it is so hard to unearth this stuff because of how simple and ambiguous it is.
Say I play for the Seahawks.
Okay.
You play for the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get a bet down on your team. We're friends.
Right.
We call each other. We do it outside of we don't do it in the team offices,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
But I do reach out to you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what do you know about what's going on with your team this week? Is there anyone you don't think's going to be able to play? Oh, hey, do you have someone that can get a bet down for me? If you're friends, chances are the other guy will say, "Oh yeah." And how is the league going to stop that?
Right. No, well, that's why the one of these other rules, tried to find it again here, just lost my spot. Makes a lot of sense and is necessary. This idea of not sharing team secrets. That's where that kind of comes in. But again, it's a question of enforcement, like you said, and that's tough. I mean, this is going to be a never-ending battle. It's your typical Cowboys and Indians, Hatfields and McCoys, whatever axiom you want to use. It's cops and robbers. That's exactly what this is, and it's always going to be. I mean, I would hope that, and I think this is probably true, that the guys caught here represent a large share of the people actually doing this, that this isn't super common because of what guys are paid. I mean, even players who are not paid, top dollar, if you're on an NFL roster, if you're good enough, like this is what I always say about sports. It's more true in other sports, but I think it's still somewhat true in football. If you're good enough to be of use to a gambler to influence the outcome of a game, you're probably paid enough to not be susceptible to the bribes they could afford to pay you for what they stand to gain in most cases. I think that's less true in the NFL because of the lack of guaranteed contracts, and more importantly, because of the great disparity in payouts to different positions, and the length of time it takes to get to a decent contract relative to the length of an average career. So I do think there's more of a window with NFL players for gamblers than there is with anyone else. I mean, your rank and file NBA player, like just take someone like I don't know, take someone
Minimum salary is
like
almost $500,000.
right, take a Contavious Caldwell Pope. They're not there. Even if you thought he was good enough to influence the outcome of a game, he doesn't make he makes so much money that what could you offer him to make him think it's a good idea to jeopardize that?
Yeah, if you're a running back on the practice squad, though.
Well, no, but that falls into the other side of this. If you're a running back on the practice squad, you probably don't have enough influence on the outcome of the game for it to be worth my while to bribe you if I'm a gambler.
Oh, you can screw something up on special teams.
Can you? Most special teams plays end before they start because of touchbacks.
Not punt returns.
I mean, I guess, but to me, a lot of those are even fair catches. Um, and if you're a practice squad player, doesn't that mean you're not actually on the active roster? Isn't that the definition of practice squad? Like, are you not even at the games? I thought that's what that meant. So,
Oh, you're up in the press box, but
right.
but you could be activated for a week. What if they find out you're activated and
Yeah,
fine?
it seems to me it's more like the bottom third of the active roster versus guys like that could be the issue. I freely admit I think this is more of a possibility in football than any other sport, but I still think it's fairly small because the other thing is some of those points of influence for lesser players are not guaranteed to happen to present themselves, and even if they do when they execute their fall according to script, there's still a very good chance that the outcome is not what the gambler wants anyway because of other aspects of the game. So I think it's a thing, but I think it's a lot less of an issue than it was before uh, the money changed. This would have been a much bigger and easier temptation in Alex Karras's day because if you made $10,000 a year, you were doing great.
Oh yeah,
So okay, a gambler offers you $5,000. Well, that might, in some people's case, triple their salary or double their annual salary or at 50% of their annual salary. That's significant. Um, what's the equivalent of $5,000 today for a player making, let's say, a guy who makes $5 million? Does the gambler have to offer them 2.5 million, 10 million? Can they make enough money to justify that with the risk they have to take? I don't know. It seems to me it's a tall order to ask.
it all depends on how big the bet is.
Well, how big the bet is and how much they're willing to risk to win what they stand to win with that bet. I know a guy I used to work uh, on his account at one of my old jobs. He's a big sports bettor in Missouri. He was telling me a story about he's Kansas City. He bets on the Chiefs a lot, and he was telling me a story about how he bet because I guess in the Mahomes era they've lost like one home game in their division against division opponents like the entire time Mahomes has been the starter, something ridiculous like that. So the odds in this particular game on the money line to bet on the Chiefs were something like minus 20,000 or something ridiculous. So he bet like I think he said he bet $15,000 to win 2,000. And or maybe it was 5,000 to win 1,000. It was something like that. He bet an absurd amount of money to win a very small amount and lost. So, what's the risk reward? That's this is getting into gaming theory a lot, but I guess the point is these rules, bringing it back to the base of it here, these rules make sense. Hard to enforce, but have probably been in place a long time. And I think when you do catch someone and have irredactable proof that they ran afoul of one of these things, I think you are obligated to come down harsh. And I don't blame the NFL one bit if they're suspending all these guys for a year. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
No, they did the right thing.
Yep. I think that's perfectly reasonable. So there we go. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got our question of the day next. This is the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Coffee Lovers Middletown is now officially home to the home run of our favorite beverage, Days Coffee. Days' patented blend contains approximately 85% less caffeine than other coffees, which makes it better for you, yet unlike decaf coffee, still gives you that great pickup and tastes amazing. Formulated by a retired cancer pathologist, Dr. Grant Lee, Days Coffee is fermented with a patented enzyme that until now required a complex and thus expensive sourcing and production process. With Dr. Lee's formulation, this enzyme's great health benefits can now be brought to your cup quicker, easier, and cheaper than ever before. Here's how you get a hold of this game-changing cup of joe. Go over to radioonlydeals.com and get a $4 gift certificate to Days Coffee for just $2. That's radioonlydeals.com to buy your single-use digital gift certificate for Days Coffee. Radioonlydeals.com. That's radioonlydeals.com. Enjoy the preferred coffee of the Gary Ayd Show. Enjoy Days Coffee.
What's up, Cave Talk Radio fans? If you're looking for a great dinner and a tremendous atmosphere, look no further than Carter's Restaurant in Beacon, New York. It's a family-run restaurant, and as soon as you walk in the door, you will feel like part of their family, as they will be there to greet you and say goodbye as you leave. Make sure to try their Chicken Eugene. It's their specialty dish, originally created by Chef Eugene Greco, who taught the dish to the chefs at Carter's. Jonathan Lombardi, the chef of Carter's, is himself a CIA graduate, by the way. Carter's Restaurant is the go-to place for private events such as rehearsal dinners, cocktail parties, baby showers, and more. It's open every day except Wednesday, and the kitchen is open from 12 to 10 every day, but for Sunday, when it's open 11 to 8. The bar is open even later. Mention Cave Talk Radio and you get 20% off your bill with the exception of happy hour. Again, Cave Talk Radio for 20% off your bill at Carter's Restaurant in Beacon, where your family will join the family of Carter's.
Financiers are using professional athletes for a little distraction. I am KO. Back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
Would you like to hear better for as little as 10 cents a day? Now you can with the all-new Audion hearing aids. The average hearing aid lasts about 3 years. Ours, at only $99 a pair, means you're paying as little as 10 cents a day to hear better. And to make things even better, we'll give you a 45-day money-back guarantee. Skip the doctor and get hearing aids delivered straight to your door. We've eliminated all the middlemen to offer you a factory direct price of only $99 a pair. Join over 300,000 people just like you who took advantage of our 45-day trial offer. Now you can hear better too.
800-226-1471. 800-226-1471. 800-226-1471. That's 800-226-1471.
Sovereign wealth funds and venture capital giants are spending big on sports, so the brands can be identified with the virtues of the athletes they sponsor. But that's not the only thing they're seeking from an affiliation with pro sports. El País contributors Alvaro Sanchez and Emilio Hidalgo suggest that they're also after a distraction from negative news. For example, an affiliation with pro sports and athletes offers a better storyline than human rights violations for the controversial petromonarchies of the Persian Gulf. And as for entire sectors lacking stability, like cryptocurrencies, an attachment with a pro team does wonders for brand recognition. Question: would you rather your team sold out to a sovereign wealth fund or a cryptocurrency company?
I think it depends on who the sovereign wealth fund is. If it's Saudi Arabia, no. I'm guessing that's the reference here because that's obviously what golf did. But if it's a sovereign wealth fund from a country or entity whose values I generally agree with and identify with, then I would much rather that. Cryptocurrency is made up money. It's not real. That's why it's so volatile. And people, I remember when it first came out, people say, well, it's a new thing, so it's going to be volatile, blah, blah, blah. It's not new anymore. And it's just as volatile, maybe more so than ever before. I would personally want no part of that as, let's say, a brand. Let's take it from the perspective of the brand, because what's hot today could be gone tomorrow with cryptocurrency. Remember Dogecoin, anyone? Remember how that was like the thing for like 45 seconds? Literally wasn't much more than that. It was like maybe like 3 months, like no exaggeration. And then boom.
Cuban was taking it on his website. He was selling for Dogecoin.
Right. So that I wouldn't want to be associated with. It's typically a sovereign wealth fund, aka public money, is pretty reliably stable. Right? So at the very least, they're likely to be around. And so if I'm a fan, I guess I don't really care who my team's advertiser is. If I'm a brand and I do care where my brand is associated with, I'd rather be associated with the thing I have confidence will exist in a couple years. But along with that, I need to feel a sense of identification and shared belief system with that entity in order to sell out, as they said. And yeah, I'm never gonna feel that way about Saudi Arabia. Let's just put it. And they didn't mention that in this question, but it's implied in the option. I mean, what other sovereign fund being someone selling out to a sovereign fund in the sports world? What else could we be talking about? Of course, we're talking about the LIV PGA merger. If not directly, it's implicit in this. It has to be.
Well, what about the news yesterday with the Qatar investment into the Washington franchises, the Wizards, the Capitals, the Mystics?
Yeah, that was different. Now, as far as I could tell, it is not a controlling stake in any of them. So it's a little different than the PGA Tour deal. But it's certainly, and it's probably, to be honest with you, a deal like that is probably being reported now because of the PGA thing. And the concept of these is probably in the public consciousness a little bit more than in the past. But I would venture a guess that if you did some financial digging, there's probably a half dozen or more of those type of deals, like of the Qatar type of deals around sports over the last several years. They're probably not that hard to find. But I don't know that. I'm speculating there, but I know how internationally crazed a lot of these leagues are, and all of them really. And I think that it's probably because there's deals like this to be had if you show you care.
Yeah.
I was asked a question in the chat here. Let's go up a little bit. We can read this. Someone asks us, Draymond Green is meeting tonight with Portland with Damian Lillard, and Lillard is apparently going to try to recruit him to Portland. Could Lillard, Green, and Scoot be legit contenders? Absolutely not. Scoot's a rookie. He's an undersized guard at that. Him and Lillard will not pair well together in the backcourt for exactly that reason. Forget the fact that he's a rookie for a second, but just the lack of defensive versatility will be terrible there. Draymond Green's a role player, always has been. He's on the wrong side of 30. Probably won't move the needle much for a team like Portland. I see that as nothing more than if Draymond Green ends up in Portland, the reason he's there is because they offered him the biggest contract and he was money driven and nothing else. That would be the only reason for him to go to a place like Portland. I don't even think that makes him a playoff team.
No.
Let alone a contender.
No, because even if you count those three guys, what else do they have around them?
Right, not much. And those three guys are not good enough. They're not better than LeBron, Davis, and whoever you want to say is the third guy. Let's say Austin Reeves for the time being. That's not a big three. That's a big two. But Reeves is probably the second best player among the Portland trio. Like he's not as good as Lillard, but he'd probably be better than Henderson at this stage and probably better than Green.
Yeah.
No, I think that I don't think that helps them at all. To me, Draymond Green has two logical destinations, maybe three. Staying with Golden State makes the most sense. Followed, I think, by joining Sacramento. And then lastly, because of his relationship with LeBron and the fact that the Lakers are, a veteran-laden team right now for the most part, I think that would make a little sense, although I wouldn't be a fan of it as a fan of the team. But I understand where the pieces would fit together there a little bit. But
I know they're looking at Kevin Love too.
who, the Lakers or the Blazers?
Yeah.
Oh, the Lakers. Yeah, I mean, I've wanted Kevin Love for years. He's long been one of my favorite players to watch. Just a very good pro in every sense.
Did his job in the playoffs this year too.
He sure did. Yep, he sure did. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We got a top 5 today. Haven't done one of these in a while. We are going to do the top 5 things that we want answered at this press conference with Steve Cohen later tonight, and we'll break the responses down tomorrow. That press conference will air probably about an hour or so after we get off the air, so we'll talk about it tomorrow. But let's give a little forecast of things we want to hear, and then we'll see how he does relative to what we ask for. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, so we'll do that next. Right now, it's time for a break. We'll come back and do the top 5. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
All righty, we are back here on the Gary Ayd Show, and it's been a long time since we did one of these, man. Let's do it. Let's do the top 5. All right. Can't find the music bed, so I'm just going to go at it dry. Top 5 today is 5 things we want to see from Steve Cohen, and I want to do this sort of collaboratively.
You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
First thing I want to hear from him is a definitive answer on the manager. If you're going to let him go, say so and do it. If you're not, tell us why you're keeping him. Tell us that you feel it's the best thing for the ball club.
That makes sense. What would let me ask you one thing about that. What would you interpret as a true commitment to Showalter versus the all too common and all but guaranteed to be shortly fired vote of confidence? Like how would you distinguish between the two things?
Well, I don't want to hear the words vote of confidence
Oh
first.
yes.
I just want him to come out and say, this has nothing to do with the job Buck Showalter is doing or will continue to do. And then there you have it. That'll pretty much.
All right. I want to hear from him specific areas of focus as we're approaching a month or so from the trade deadline, what they're going to look to do to rectify the situation and improve the team. Where are they going to look to improve their roster? Are they going to look to the bullpen? Are they going to look to add a starting pitcher? Are they going to look to add another bat? Because I think all three things would be of value. Where's their game plan? What's their plan of attack without revealing, all the specifics? I know they can't and won't do that, but broadly speaking, where are they looking to address? What have they identified as the biggest single cause of this calamity? That's really what this question speaks to the heart of. What happened? What caused this? I think that's my biggest question is, okay, this is a mess. Why? What happened? Where did this go wrong? And then the offshoot of that, the logical follow-up then is, okay, what do we do to fix it?
Right. Are we holding feet to the fire to anyone in the pro scouting department? Has he met with them and put a plan of attack together? Which goes along with your question of what are we going to do?
Right. Yeah.
Because they seem to be doing nothing, which could or could not be the case. There may not be anything to do, but I want to hear that he's pushing them to do something.
Right. Yes, that's the big thing you want to know. One thing that I wanted to throw out here is just a by the way, since I always get on him, I give credit where credit is due. Over his last 2 weeks, Francisco Lindor is hitting .316, has 4 home runs and 11 RBIs. So keep it up, Francisco. Good job.
Dave Vogelbach hit one last night too.
All right, go Vogie. All right, number 4. My next one. What is the plan for your starting pitchers? Specifically, I want to know what's the plan with Max and Verlander, because they're both older. We know their contracts are what they are. Are we almost the same question you have about Showalter? I have about those two. Are we committed to them or are we not? Are we moving on? I read today reports that Max Scherzer is open to waiving his no trade clause to be, quote, traded to a contender, which implies, of course, that the Mets are not a contender, which in the standings right now, they're not. So what does that mean?
And people love bailing ship the first chance they get.
Yeah, well, Max has been pitching better of late too. His ERA is back below 4 again, which is nice, just barely at 3.95, but it had been up in the mid 5s. So that's a nice improvement in a short period of time.
It is.
But he still gives up a lot of home runs.
What good does it do if he's asking out?
Well, he just, the report that I read is just that he's willing to waive his no trade clause to go to a contender. It didn't say he requested a trade to a contender. So I don't know if that's semantics or an actual, statement of preference.
He may as well have said it.
Right. It might just be semantical. That's entirely possible. But just taking it literally, it's not the same statement. But, that doesn't mean it's not the same intent or underpinning desire. That's true. But I want to get an answer to that. What's the plan with these guys? Are we committed to them or are we, open? And with that particular question, if it's addressed, you'll get I'm sure a non-answer answer because you have to. But I'd like to read between the tea leaves on that one. And what about you? What's number 5?
Well, let's piggyback off that, whether they're committed to them or not. What is the plan to make this pitching staff younger?
That's a great question.
Because no matter what, if you're committed to them this season, you're still going to have that question hanging over your head at the end of the year.
Right. That's right. Yeah, and they don't have, which is unusual for the Mets in their history, but right now they don't have big name talent in their farm in the rotation. All their best prospects right now are batters. I know there's been any number of reports that they're going to back up the Lumen truck for Shohei Ohtani, which that's fine. I'm all for that, but he's still one guy. I just think they dropped the ball so much on both Stroman and Bassett. If they had both of those guys right now, you would feel wholly different about the staff. I know I would.
They were very impatient with Bassett.
Yeah, they were. Very disappointing. Both of those guys are consistent starters.
Bassett's a hell of a pitcher.
He really is. And Stroman's one of the best pitchers in baseball this year.
Yeah. Of course, so is Ohtani.
Right.
Did you see him last night?
Yeah, what did he have? 2 home runs and 10 strikeouts?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's 2 home runs he personally hit, not gave up, by the way.
Right.
Unbelievable. So yeah, those I think are your 5 big questions to ask. And I think if you're a Met fan, those are the things you have to be thinking about. And you know, the last thing I'll say on this is who gets to make these decisions? That's, I guess, we're gonna have a bonus question here. Who's in charge? Like, meaning, okay, you have a baseball executive, you have front office personnel. I get that. And they're handling the day-to-day. I get that too. But who's in charge of painting the vision, which then dictates the day-to-day operational actions that are taken to try to realize that vision? Is it Steve Cohen or is it Billy Epler?
I want to hear Cohen say it's him.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Exactly. Because if it's his vision, okay, what is the vision? Spell it out for us. Remind us. Okay, here it is. So that tells me, let's say he answers, it's my vision, and the vision is to spare no expense to ensure that we have a title contending team or a playoff contending team each and every year, and we're relevant in any particular free agent that we pursue. We have a chance to win them because I'm willing to spend what's necessary. If he says something along those lines, that will tell me it's him. If I start hearing things along the lines of, there's a lot of time left in the year, we're not where we want to be by any stretch, but we have to be patient. We have to make sure that we're doing things according to our plan and not being haphazard. If I hear anything like that, I'm going to know Billy Epler had a lot to do with it. And I don't want to hear that.
And if he wants Epler to have that role, fine. But Cohen's got to define it for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even agree with that. If he wants Billy Epler to have that role, it's not fine with me. Then my permanent expectation is failure until that's not the case anymore.
Oh, I know, but it's not going to change.
I mean,
I'd like it if it did.
I mean, I don't know if that's the case or not, but if Epler's really truly getting to decide everything and running the ship, then this is what we're going to get.
I don't mean Epler gets to decide everything. I mean, Cohen lays it down, and it's up to Epler to execute it.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can't, then we know the change that needs to be made.
Right.
I'm going to give you this list. I'm not going to tell you how to do it.
Okay.
I want you to show me how to do it. Show me what you would do.
Right.
Because that's going to prove to me either you're worthy of this gig or you're not.
Or you're not. And understand that there's never a time where you have to ask for a resource. If you need to go get a player, go get them, spend what it takes. I got the checkbook ready. I'm ready to go.
And that's never been an issue.
Right. And that's my principal issue with Epler is I just have this sense with him that he is married to this whole getting value and not overpaying concept when he has an owner who's like, please overpay, get what we need.
If you're getting the right player, there's no such thing as overpaying.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
That's like when a team drafts somebody with the 6th pick and everybody says, oh, you took him 8 spots too high. If he's the exact thing they need, then no, they didn't. What your value is of someone and what the market's is could be different. And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's very true.
So if the Mets feel player A is worth $30 million a year, and the market says, oh, we're only paying him 24. If you think he's worth 30, give him the damn 30 and get the player.
Let's get him. That's right. Well, there we have it. All right, let's take our last break. We'll come back and we'll do some news you can use to round out the show today.
We got some good stuff today.
All right, so we'll get to it next. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. What's up, Cave Talk Radio fans? If you're looking for a great dinner and a tremendous atmosphere, look no further than Carter's Restaurant in Beacon, New York. It's a family-run restaurant, and as soon as you walk in the door, you will feel like part of their family, as they will be there to greet you and say goodbye as you leave. Make sure to try their Chicken Eugene. It's their specialty dish, originally created by Chef Eugene Greco, who taught the dish to the chefs at Carter's. Jonathan Lombardi, the chef of Carter's, is himself a CIA graduate, by the way. Carter's Restaurant is the go-to place for private events such as rehearsal dinners, cocktail parties, baby showers, and more. It's open every day except Wednesday, and the kitchen is open from 12 to 10 every day, but for Sunday, when it's open 11 to 8. The bar is open even later. Mention Cave Talk Radio and you get 20% off your bill with the exception of happy hour. Again, Cave Talk Radio for 20% off your bill at Carter's Restaurant in Beacon, where your family will join the family of Carter's.
Coffee Lovers Middletown is now officially home to the home run of our favorite beverage, Days Coffee. Days patented blend contains approximately 85% less caffeine than other coffees, which makes it better for you, yet unlike decaf coffee, still gives you that great pickup and tastes amazing. Formulated by a retired cancer pathologist, Dr. Grant Lee, Days Coffee is fermented with a patented enzyme that until now required a complex and thus expensive sourcing and production process. With Dr. Lee's formulation, this enzyme's great health benefits can now be brought to your cup quicker, easier, and cheaper than ever before. Here's how you get a hold of this game-changing cup of joe. Go over to radioonlydeals.com and get a $4 gift certificate to Days Coffee for just $2. That's radioonlydeals.com to buy your single-use digital gift certificate for Days Coffee. Radioonlydeals.com. That's radioonlydeals.com. Enjoy the preferred coffee of the Gary Ayd Show. Enjoy Days Coffee.
All righty, good stuff. It's time to close out the show today with some news you can use. What do we got today, Rich?
The New Jersey Devils traded Igor Sharangovich to the Calgary Flames for Calgary's leading scorer, Tyler Toffoli. They also signed free agent Timo Meier to an 8-year contract. That team does not have a first-round pick in tonight's NHL draft. It doesn't matter. They're loaded. In fact, the only city team that has a pick tonight are the Rangers.
Well, there you go. So
Jersey's going to make a run for it. Tobias Harris said about casual Sixers fans, they'll trade me for a crumble cookie. But at the end of the day, they have to realize you're not getting a 6'9" forward back who can damn near shoot 40% from three, guard the other team's best wing, shoot, post up, drive, and play over 70 games a year.
He said all that?
Yes.
Good for him.
I believe we have the right talent to be a championship team, and we have the right pieces and the right culture. With a new coach, I'm excited for what we're going to bring to the table.
Good for him.
Now, Crumble Cookie, if you don't know them, is a dessert chain. They specialize in fresh baked cookies, and they are so damn good. Harris helped the franchise get a location in Wynwood, PA last year. So now, if they don't trade him, Crumble is offering a free cookie to everyone in Philadelphia as long as Harris is there.
Great. No, I have to show ID to get this cookie. Could I drive to Philadelphia and get a cookie? I might just do that. I might just go to a Sixers game and get a cookie while I'm at it.
Why not? The cookies are killer.
That is funny. I was on a radio show as a guest the other day, and I remember talking to being asked a question about the Knicks and specifically about Julius Randle and Tom Thibodeau. And it just goes to show you it's the same situation as with Harris in Philadelphia. People will trade these guys and fire these guys for basically no given reason. It just goes to show you Northeast sports fans are nuts.
They are. They truly are. And I've always liked Tobias Harris.
Oh, we both have. Yeah, you've been big on him for a lot of years. He's just an excellent player.
I think he'll find better success with Nick Nurse than he did with that other guy.
Yep. I agree. All right. What else we got?
Former NFL quarterback Ryan Mallett died in an apparent drowning in Florida, and he was caught in some really bad rip currents that have been hitting Gulf Coast beaches. And it's just a very sad story all the way around. Those rip currents have taken at least 11 lives in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's pretty scary stuff. It really is.
There are certain times, no matter how much, especially if you're an adventurer, no matter how much you want to get out there, there's certain times of the year in Florida, it's just best not to go in the water.
Mm-hmm.
First responders were called in that afternoon because people in the water said there was people, at the water said there was somebody in there struggling to make it to shore, and they did not get to him. He went under the water and wasn't breathing when lifeguards pulled him out. They got him to the hospital, but he didn't make it. That's sad. It's very, very sad.
It really is such a young guy. He's what, 35, 36
I
years
know,
old?
35. There is just,
Yeah, it really
some things just don't make sense.
It really is sick. It really is. I mean, not to make light of the situation, but this is exactly why I've always been a fan of the pool, especially pools that are only like kiddie pools and so deep. Nothing bad can happen. Like, I'm scared of the ocean. I have a pretty deep fear of the ocean. And there's a litany of reasons for it. This is one of them. Jellyfish are another. Stepping on a crab is another. Sharks are another. It just, like, seaweed's disgusting. I don't need the salt. Like, yeah, it's fun riding waves, but if I really want to do that, I'll go to a wave pool. Like, I really won't go in the ocean. It really does scare me. This is an example why.
I'm the same way.
It's like,
I am the exact same way. Adventure to me is not worrying about whether I'm going to die.
right.
Adventure to me is like I'm going to get the last loaf of fresh bread at a deli.
That's right. That's right. Can I get it? Can I get it in time? Absolutely. All right, we got time for one more. What else we got?
The NHL decided this week that teams will no longer wear any specialty warm-up jerseys.
Yep, I saw this.
During the next season, including for Pride Nights, Military Appreciation Nights, and Hockey Fights Cancer Nights.
Mm-hmm.
Players are not happy.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I think that military and cancer are two things that there shouldn't be any discussion as to whether you can or shouldn't wear a uniform for that. Like, to me, those are two things that, regardless of your political or sexual persuasion, are universally necessary and good. Fighting cancer is necessary and good, and having a military to fight for us is necessary and good. I think that it's generally wise of organizations to be apolitical, and be pretty much neutral, which is what they're essentially doing with this. But I think they took it just a half a step too far. I think those are two examples of things that are above division.
Yeah, but you can't just stop one.
No,
what
but you
comes out,
you can
what comes
stop a
out of
lot
that.
and
You can't just stop the one and let everything else go, because that's always been mine. If you're going to take one away, take them all.
yeah, but the problem is these things are not for every person that is gay or supports gay pride or whatever it is, there are people on the other side of it. A lot of them. There should be not one person on the planet that doesn't support trying to eradicate cancer.
Right, but
I mean that and to me that's the difference. You know,
then I don't want to hear your hockey is for everyone theme, because obviously it's not.
what wouldn't it be for then if they allowed cancer
Gay
nights?
people.
Sure, it's for gay
If they
people.
didn't allow
Sure, it would be for gay people.
pride nights,
I don't need a parade for something to be for me. I don't need a night for something to be for me. Like it's for everyone. They'll go in, they'll see the same game and get the same entertainment value as anyone else. An individual sexuality has nothing to do with the functioning or the enjoyment of any type of activity.
well, I get it though. I really do. Steven Stamkos made a good point. He said it was like 99% of players that wore the jerseys. And no matter what it was, the pride night, the military night, the cancer nights, said the story shouldn't be about the 7 players in the league that didn't wear it, the one guy or the 2 guys on a team. He said, I understand that's what gets the clicks, but the word distraction gets thrown around. I don't think it had to have been a distraction. It could have been a non-issue while focusing out of the good that was coming out of these nights. And this is where charities lose, because the NHL said, well, the teams can still design the special themed jerseys and auction them off. What do you think you're going to get for them if a player doesn't wear them in the pregame skate? And a lot of that money was going to cancer treatment, was going to veterans. And
I think there's a less divisive way to raise money for universally good causes. I don't have any problem with that at all. I do think that something like not having a cancer night becoming a collateral damage of not celebrating the sexual preference of a minority percentage of the population is a lot of collateral damage. But if it has to be, I'd rather it this way than have the Pride Night. I guess if I had to pick between one extreme or the other.
okay,
But I would bake in exceptions to I think the rule of not having nights is a good rule. I think there should be and when I say a handful, I'm talking less than a full hand of fingers number of exceptions that kind of are above the fray, so to speak. And I think cancer rises to that level. I think the military appreciation rises to that level. And I don't know that I can think of a third option. There probably is another one I'm just not thinking of, but
they don't have many more nights.
yeah,
So
right. So like to me, I actually hope the other sports follow suit with this. So we'll see if they do. But hey, there you go.
well, the NBA did.
Yep. Oh, they did. I didn't know that.
You know, they're not doing the stuff.
Good stuff. Well, that does it for us. Looks like we lost Rich there. I think we lost our phone connection. So we're going to close up today. We'll see you again tomorrow. This is the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.